3, 2, 1. Can crack. Cheers. Happy 4th. No puns allowed.
Happy 4th. Happy day after the 4th.
You just don't sound genuinely enthused about it.
Like I said before we just started, I was like, the day after the Super Bowl and the day after 4th of July should just be holidays. I also don't like that today's Wednesday and it's like kind of like a Monday.
Oh, yeah. And the rest of the week is just fucked.
It's combining a Monday and a Wednesday is kind of a lot.
I agree. Did you have a good 4th?
Yes, I did. Lots of barbecuing, lots of pool time. Yeah, it was a good time, but long weekend, short week, travel this weekend, so looking forward to the chaos of kind of, and it's July. Like that means it's football season.
So speaking of the 4th, did you happen to follow, it's impossible to follow anything now because Twitter's a fucking hellspace. But did you happen to follow the hot dog eating controversies?
I saw that did it get called off because of the lightning, or did they eventually do it? What happened?
They eventually did it.
Okay.
And Joey Chestnut won. I think he only ate like 52 hot dogs.
Only.
But it's hilarious. But what was funny about this is like the betting markets on Joey Chestnut, I believe it was minus 4,000 to win. But his over hot dog totals were in the 60s. And like you had people, gambling experts, saying that the density of the hot dogs was going to change due to the weather and the rain delay, which is going to impact his ability to eat. So the over-under betting on Joey Chestnut hot dogs was like out of control yesterday, or 4th of July, or whenever the fuck it was. But I find that amazing that gambling is to a point where we are like, there's controversy surrounding over-under hot dog eating totals.
Yeah, we as America have become degenerates.
I think it's great. Also, I don't want to get, it's like, it gives me, I love hot dogs, Nathan's hot dogs. I'm a New Jersey guy, so Nathan's hot dogs are the best hot dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't imagine doing something like that.
I can't even watch it. Sorry, America.
I saw one of the contestants like just chug 2 giant lemonades before the hot dog eating contest, like in rain delay. He chugged like a gallon of lemonade, and I'm not equipped for that. I'd like to know what my hot dog limitations are. Like I'd like to know the number.
Mm-hmm.
I think most people would overestimate how many hot dogs they would eat, right?
Well, yeah, I think a lot of people think they could easily do it, but I'm certainly not one of them. And I'm not willing to try. I do love hot dogs, but eating them like that is just no thanks. Cool.
So that's one thing. So my other question, so I just got a haircut. We talked before the pod started. You said I was going to ask. I said,
yeah.
I got a haircut. I do not have like a hairstylist. Insert YouTubers saying, yeah, your haircut looks like shit. We can tell, but whatever. I'll just go on the cheap. I'm good with $20 to $30 haircuts, right?
Okay.
And so I've been dying to get one. The place that I normally went to closed. So I just jumped in a place. The woman who cut my hair was clearly having a bad day. Like, clearly having a very shitty day. And, like, 3 words were uttered during a haircut, which had me thinking during this very awkward haircut. First off, she said, like, how short do you want? And I was just like, I don't know. Like, what do you say, right? Like, for a guy, it's hard. Well, how about an inch off the top? Okay, how about an inch, right? Do you like the talkative haircutter-ist? Or not, because this actually wasn't bad, even though she was clearly pissed off the world and huffing and shit and like whatever. I'm not going to get into that. We're all having a day. I kind of like the silent haircut. I'm going to be honest. What do you think?
Okay, well, it's different when you're going to like different ones. Like I have the same hair girl and then a girl that assists her, and that's like gossip hour. It's like a whole podcast in itself. If you go to the hair salon, you could probably get a lot of dirt on a lot of other people because they tell their hairstylist everything. So I think it's different for women because it's so much longer of an experience. Like it takes me probably 2 to 3 hours to get my hair done. And yours is probably not that long. So I imagine silence for 3
7
hours.
minutes.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I imagine silence for like 3 hours would not be super fun.
Did you say you have 2 people, a main and an assistant?
Well, she has like someone who assists her, but I also like know her because she knows my cousin. So So it's like she comes over. Usually she has like another client. She'll come over and chat. So like it's chatty hour in the salon. Like, and they always say that you could find out like people's deepest, darkest secrets from going to the hair salon and eavesdropping because like they tell their hairstylist everything.
So, I think I'm realizing whether it's Uber, haircuts, or my dentist always wants to talk football while he's working on my mouth. Very, very hard to do.
Yeah.
I just don't like communication like that.
Yeah.
Like an Uber?
I'm good with a silent Uber. I prefer a silent Uber.
Okay. So, but haircut, yeah. If you have familiarity, that's fine. This one, like, it wasn't happening. I wasn't going to be like, it's hot out there, huh? Because you would have been like, shut the fuck up. Why don't we do that?
Yeah. I also am just like a little concerned that you don't know what to say to your hairstylist about getting your hair cut. Like you don't have like a number of the like buzz.
I got a number on the sides. I'm like, all right, 4 on the sides and then like, just a little off the top. And normally they're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to try here. And then if it's, not short enough, we'll go here. And then I'm like, sure. And then I'm too nice. So even if it's too long,
you
I'm like,
are too nice. You were way too nice. You needed someone that's consistent so you get the same haircut, not different every time. Why won't you just go to the same person or like a barber?
I sometimes do, but like work day and shit, like it didn't work out today. And I walked in.
I will move my work day around making my hair appointment worth it.
Get your fleet of
people. It makes it sound like I'm such a demon. I have like so much hair,
yes.
But it's a process, okay?
Yeah, I feel bad for this woman who clearly is probably listening. I hope today's going okay.
Yeah.
And did a good tip though. I was like, all right, like, here's a little something.
When did you go? Did you go on like July 3rd, like on the Monday when you had it off?
I went literally 45 minutes
ago. Oh. Okay. So the day after the 4th of July, no wonder she's in a bad mood because she's working the day after 4th of July and everything should be closed. That's how I feel.
Yeah, when you ask somebody how they're doing, and she's like, I'm fine. It's like,
yeah, that's a little rough.
Clearly not fine. I'm going to close the conversation. So, okay, so 4th of July, haircuts, we can get into random shit. But we do have some football stuff I guess we should talk about.
Yep.
Or do you want to talk about the biggest story when it comes to football, which is Twitter being a piece of shit?
Let's start with Twitter just in general, because I feel like that's been on everyone's mind. And it also just shifts the landscape of so much of what we do and the information that we get in terms of college football. I saw you tweeted earlier today about it. How do you feel about this limitation? Are you going to pay to not be limited during football season?
So I use TweetDeck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the average user probably knows what TweetDeck is or has to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But I have actually, whether it's football stuff, whether it's Golden Tee, column set up, like TweetDeck has been the only way I use Twitter for a long time. It is more or less like they castrated it, right? Like that's what they did to Twitter.
Yeah.
Or TweetDeck. And I had it open. I reached my limit within a couple hours because you have things scrolling.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's what it's going to be, and TweetDeck's going to become a paid feature, I may pay because it's how I like to operate.
Mm-hmm.
And I won't be ashamed about it. I understand why they need to monetize this better.
Mm-hmm.
I understand providing value for people who pay, but what Twitter is doing is actually the opposite, which is providing services that we've had forever, like just nuking a lot of the functionality and saying, well, now you have to pay for it versus adding value in making me want to pay for it. I will pay for it if you make it worth our while, like in the college football realm or whatever you like to do. We will pay for it. We will absolutely pay for it. But I am struggling, the limitation, like I couldn't even get on Twitter not that I was even cared. It was actually nice to be away from it. Nor am I on Twitter as much as I used to be.
Yeah.
I just find the whole thing strange. And I do think, based on this limitations, more relevant to people listening, watching games and being on Twitter is one of my favorite things about the entire app. I think that is going to seriously be hurt by all of this.
Yeah, it makes me sad because that part of college football is so fun, the like college football Twitter community. And I know that's how it is for a lot of sports. In terms of like job and functionality, like this is such a bummer because I use TweetDeck as well. I have since I started at Bleacher Report, and like that's how I watch football on Saturdays, and that's how I spend my work day is like TweetDeck is open. So it is going to be odd. I do feel like I'm eventually going to have to pay for it. And just like you said, because it's the convenience of how you've done it, and it just makes it a lot easier. And the part that I like don't love is that people are like, well, I can't believe people are going to cave and pay for this. Like, it's my job to be informed and to know these things. Like, we're just going to have to bite the bullet and do it until someone comes
Yes.
up with better things to, you know, spread news through, which I know lots of new technology stuff is coming out sort of to try and make it easy for everyone and not so like hidden behind a paywall. I think Instagram is starting something too, so we'll see
Yeah.
how this goes. I feel like the social media landscape is definitely shaken up, but also just like the news landscape and sports news too. Like this also happened the weekend that NBA free agency started, so like that is kind
I
of
know.
wild. So like the people like Woj and Shams and Fabrizio who does soccer ones, like this is just going to be wild for those people to kind of figure out how to get news out.
I get it. Like I understand needing to make money. So I actually respect their trying to do that. And to the point, the conversation we're having, we're like, yeah, we might just have to pay. I don't think there's enough of us to make that a good business decision, though.
Yeah.
And I really think you alienate enough people, you're just going to lose them. And that just feels like what's happening now. And yes,
Yeah.
Instagram has a competitor. What is it? Threads coming out. I think like by the time people listen to this, it'll probably be out.
Yeah.
I'm curious what happens because, you know, as a Instagram Reel loyalist, I'm willing to, you know, explore other avenues.
Yeah. Instagram. I was going to say Instagram Reel loyalist, but not Instagram poster. Although you've been better.
No.
I did see some pictures, but we're going to get you to post a video one of these days. It's going to happen.
Yes, and I'll talk about my lacrosse speedway visit. Yes, but it's sad because I hope it improves because Twitter is the best during live sports without question.
Yeah.
And right now it's nuked, I think, for live sports. Like you watch one Thursday night football game and they're really changing the way it's supposed to be used, I think, or at least attempting to do so. And it sucks. So to be TBD, but right now, not so great.
Yeah. Something I did want to talk about that is not on the doc, but it was a big topic of conversation this last week, were the ESPN layoffs.
Yes.
And I didn't realize it was going to generate such like a toxic conversation on Twitter. I know a lot of really big name people were sort of attacked because they're like large contracts with the network. And I think one of the things like people have asked me like, what do you think about it? And it's like, this has been happening across the sports media world for a couple months now. So it's nothing surprising to those of us who work in the industry. It is, of course, really, really sad because there's some really amazing talent that was let go. But those people are going to land on their feet. They're going to end up other places and you'll be able to watch them. But it was interesting to just see, because we're talking about shifts in workflow and all of that. It's just so interesting to see that like our industry is definitely changing. So we do not take for granted that we do have a platform to be able to talk to you guys about sports and keep it fun. But yeah, that's definitely a reality of the business right now.
Did you watch Stephen A's video in response to that today?
I saw that he told everyone to kiss his ass twice, I believe.
Yeah, that's pretty much the summary of the video.
Okay.
The important parts in it. Like that, just the end. I mean, which I kind of appreciate. Like, it's tough. Like, you negotiate your deal, right?
Yeah.
Somebody pays you what they think you're worth.
Yeah.
And you negotiate what you think you're worth. I don't blame anybody. This is our philosophy through college football, through anybody, is get money.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that does come at a cost, potentially, for other people losing their jobs. But individually, this is a get money, get paid podcast that we appreciate. So I don't blame Stephen A. for this.
No, or like Pat McAfee.
That's like, like, if you have a problem with what Stephen A. is making, don't blame Stephen A.
Well,
and I'm just using Stephen A. as an example. There's a lot of frankly, there's a ton of people that this mantra would apply to.
Yeah, and this is sort of what like I was getting at is like it's interesting to see like people aren't consulting with the other on-air talent about which on-air talent should go. Like this isn't like Stephen A. and Pat McAfee being like, all right, well, this is the people that should leave because you have to pay me. These are people that have been running this business for a very long time, okay? and there was changes that needed to be made, and they made it across sports. Like I saw there's a lot of different people across all different sports. It's not just one sport being hit and they're focusing on one. But it's the nature of the industry, and also like, yeah, if you're gonna pay guys $85 million over 4 or 5 years, like you're gonna have to find a way to do it when the revenue isn't there. But I don't think it's a direct correlation to, signing big names. I think McAfee got 65 or 85 million in that range for
that.
Yeah. So like there's a lot of money in that stuff, but yeah, it is very interesting that people were very upset at specific on-air talent for other on-air talent being gone.
I can't even get mad. Stephen A, like, back to Stephen A, and I just fascinated by, I love the Kiss My Ass Twice. Like, first off, amazing. That guy is on every show. That guy does, like, every, like, morning to night, radio, TV, you name it. That guy does it. Yes, in response, Kiss My Ass Twice. Like,
that was
well played, sir. Like, well played. But back to the layout part. On the other side, it does make me sad. You look at some of the, like, football, college football impacted a lot. People that we've worked with at BR impacted. People we watched and you kind of took for granted certainly impacted. It makes me sad. It makes me sad for the industry. Obviously makes me sad across the board. But it is also one of those things where you sort of become numb to it. You're just not used to ESPN being the ones that kind of do these things as freely as they have. And it sounds like there's more coming. So it is a bummer. And the landscape is changing and shifting. People's ability to access this news, Twitter was a big part of it, right? You have a lot of people that probably got let go that made a lot of this reputation through a platform that is now evolving. So it's a weird time, I think, for the business as a whole.
Yeah, there's a lot changing. July 1st, 14 schools officially changed conferences. Okay. So joining the Big 12, we have UCF, Houston, BYU, and Cincinnati. Joining the American, we have Charlotte, FAU, North Texas, Rice, UAB, and UTSA. And joining Conference USA is Jacksonville State, Liberty, New Mexico State, and Sam Houston. It's weird.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
If you would have asked me what schools changed conferences,
you wouldn't have been able to. You would have known the Big 12 ones.
Big 12 I would have been. Big 12 I would have gotten, right? But, like, you get down to, like, Jacksonville State, which is, by the way, a very good emerging football program.
Yeah.
They're like...
But also Liberty moving is kind of a big deal.
Yeah, no, there's big names in there. That's what I mean.
It's very strange because next year, this time, it'll be Texas, Oklahoma, UCLA, USC. It's just the start of what is going to be shifting, and it's going to be so weird.
I think the Big 12... like the Pac-12, we sort of anointed, at least for one more year, as like the most fun conference in college football. I think the Big 12 is just going to be fucking weird in probably a mostly good way.
Yeah.
Like, these are good additions. These are really good additions, I think, under the circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
I just want it to be completely broken, completely strange. And, but yeah, college football over the next 2 years is going to look
different.
New playoff, and you've got a ton of teams that are just changing like conferences.
And I don't even think that it's just going to be those big names. Like, I think by this time next year, we'll have an idea of what's going to go on with the Pac-12 and who's going to be where, and if it even is a conference. Like, I don't really know, but it's going to be insane.
But even like you look at UAB, UTSA, FAU, North Texas, these are teams that have had like sizable success relative to their expectations. UTSA has been one of the like not best teams in college football, like, but one of the coolest risers in the sport, right? UAB under Bill Clark, and now God only knows with Trent Dilfer, right? But like, these are teams that are relevant. Like, I mean, for maybe not the average fan, but the person that's digging in, like UTSA, we've talked about a lot.
Yeah,
I feel like over the last couple of years. So it's, and then yes, throw in next year, which is going to be 4 like haymakers.
Yeah.
And I think I think it's going to be really, really fast. Sport is not on stable ground, and not in a bad way.
No.
But in a, like, you're going to have to adjust and recalibrate it.
Well, and I think changing conferences is going to become more common because, like you mentioned, a lot of these conferences have had, big years and have grown as programs. I think the more you like inch closer to like the Power Five, we'll start to see like kind of like conference climbing, kind of like we've talked about in
Yes.
world football, how they do that where there's like tiers. I think there's going to be some movement in that, and maybe that helps with I don't know that it necessarily will help with the top heaviness, but with an expanded playoff, you could get teams in there that you normally wouldn't get in there because people are able to show and play against a stronger schedule. Yeah,
Yes.
I think it's definitely going to become more common to switch conferences.
And that part will be fun. Like the Big 12 this year, I'm still adjusting to schedules and stuff now, and it is so fucking weird.
Yes.
Just completely fucking weird in a pretty good way. You brought up another thing in the doc, which is the NCAA Division I Council proposing cutting transfer portal window in half. Essentially, what we've been dealt with is the transfer portal is out of control. The time to build rosters is really difficult. You've got this long period of time. And I think everybody's suffering. Honestly, I think the kids are suffering too.
Yep.
So they're essentially talking about cutting that period in half. What are your thoughts on this?
I think this is great. I think it will help us so much. Like, I know, so there's 2 windows. There's one in December and one in the spring. And this doesn't just apply to football. This applies to all college sports. But the windows have become so hard to keep up with, especially with the early signing day stuff and knowing where everyone's going. I mean, people have like, even now we're still like waiting to see, okay, now we're starting to get like shaped rosters for this year, but it's still very strange to have to wait until after that like spring window to really know who's going to be where. But yeah, I think it's going to be better for the sport for it to go from 60 days to 30 days. Like, that's a huge difference. And like you said, it's going to help with roster management. It's going to help with, recruiting and making things a lot easier and smoother for everyone. And also us to keep up with it because it's just been kind of an overwhelming amount of change at once. And so I'm glad that they're coming up with something like tangible to help the transfer window. For all college sports because it was a legitimate chaos for a while.
So I don't think that we've recovered even still from COVID, right? Everybody got an extra year of eligibility. That was the right call. The rosters are still impacted by this, and then you throw in the transfer portal and NIL. And so I do think this is the right move too.
Yeah.
Eventually the transfer portal stuff will hit its rhythm. This like kind of forces it into a quicker way to hit that rhythm.
Yeah.
Condense it. It's still going to be fucking crazy. And that's okay, right? Like, I think it was like 2,100 players entered the transfer portal in the winter and 1,300 in the spring. That is wild.
So many.
So it's not going away. But as we talk about this is going to bleed into signing periods. When are the signing periods going to be? Like, all of these... college football and the NCAA, they have issues. You could solve some of these problems by just like it's like a puzzle, right? Shrink the transfer portal, and then figure out exactly what it's going to look like in terms of, an early signing period or honing that into one period potentially again. Connect these things so at least coaches and those who manage the roster have a chance.
Yeah. No, I'm glad that they're making some sort of condensed time period, so it's just not. And also, like, this is on the heels of Saban talking about how like much his staff works and like how many weeks out of the year they work over 40-hour weeks, because college football was nonstop already, but they at least had some downtime. This transfer portal stuff has really made it difficult for people to be able to take time off. So it also will benefit staffs as well in terms of like work-life balance. Thank God.
I want to switch gears we talk about signing day. I want to talk about recruiting. But before we talk about recruiting, I want to talk about your reaction to having to talk about Texas A&M recruiting. So before the lights come on and we record, and sometimes we just start recording and we just go. But sometimes we do, okay, 3, 2, 1, beer crack, whatever. We'll like look over the doc, and normally there's not much. We'll add something. It's coming together at the last second. So it's like, okay, cool. Oh, I saw this, I saw that. Oh, I didn't see that. Nice. So you're perusing the docs and you just like a straight up cartoon. Like
I was like, oh, I
yeah,
don't want to.
Well, it was almost like a growl. Actually, it's like you would think something, but I like it because there's a few teams that trigger more of a Paige growl or sigh. This team, which I'll talk about, is one of them. Michigan, absolutely there. Georgia and Stetson Bennett, I think, is number one in the power rankings of most likely to induce a sigh.
I think those at least I like to talk about because they're relevant. I just think Texas A&M is so irrelevant.
Yeah,
That I
it's even better.
can't
All right.
take it. I cannot take it. Because this is the thing is, okay, tell us the news here and then we can.
All this is like, to be clear, this is not a recruiting podcast. Every time we talk recruiting, we want to mention that. So A&M landed Cameron Coleman, great first name, top wideout in the 2024 class.
Mm-hmm.
He's like the number 8 overall player. He's really, really good. And actually, when you think about it, they have Evan Stewart, who was awesome this year. Like, that's not the big deal. Now, here's why it's interesting. You are one of the top offensive players in the country, and you've seen how A&M has played offensively the last, since Jimbo got there.
Mm-hmm.
Is Bobby Petrino that guy? Apparently. Or is the money that guy?
I think the money's that guy.
The money is that guy?
That's Bag U, okay? That is Bag University over there. They've got tons and tons of money.
Now, where I want to talk about this, whether you want to or not, you can follow me along. So with Texas last week, Texas might or might not be backish. At some point, if you could go back in this podcast and clip how many times I've said this and montage it, bad look for me. Doesn't all of this have to work? Is it like too big to fail?
No. This is college football. You have to be able to and we've heard Jimbo on the record say that he's not passing the sticks. So I don't think anything changes.
You think they're just going to continue to suck?
I don't think they'll suck. I think they'll be average. I don't think they're going to be in the playoff conversation, and I don't think they'll be national champions anytime soon.
Can I just look up the win total real quick? I have no idea. I haven't looked at the schedule.
Well, I have to look at the schedule to be able to give you a guess on the win total.
No, I'm going to look at the win total. I'm not going to say anything.
Okay, let me look at the schedule really quick. Texas A&M schedule. This is our favorite activity. Okay.
All right, I've got a win total.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm doing it on that computer. Yeah. Okay. All right. Would you like to do the win-loss schedule?
Hold on one second.
I've got one.
Okay, is it set at... I think I'm going to go low. I would give them 6 wins.
7.5 wins is the over-under. And the over is -170. Now, A&M to win the SEC is also 14-1. You're behind only Georgia, Alabama, and LSU. Is slightly above of Tennessee.
Really?
And then it's a huge drop to Ole Miss. So people are back on their bullshit. Now, I am way more bullish about Texas than I am Texas A&M. Okay? But they've recruited so fucking well. You're just like,
let me ask you this. Do you think it's going to end up, are you saying this because we saw what happened with Georgia? How, like, they had the money, they had the recruiting, it was there. It took them a little while to get there, but they finally got over that hump?
To a degree, I feel like Kirby though, like hit another level of coaching,
I was gonna say, like it's not the same. Like
Kirby,
hold on, I'm gonna give Georgia a compliment, so I want to make sure everyone hears it. I don't think that Texas and A&M will be able to replicate that with Georgia because I do think Kirby is the X factor there. So
Kirby is like CEO, and Jimbo is CEO, like VP of Sales and VP of HR. And that's not a good factor
Yeah.
in this. But I am curious because they've got really good players at really important positions. You look at their schedule. Okay, New Mexico, at Miami, UL Monroe, Auburn, Arkansas, home versus Alabama, at Tennessee, South Carolina, at Ole Miss, Mississippi State, Abilene Christian, and then at LSU. So you play at LSU, you play at Tennessee, you play at Arkansas.
And Alabama? Or they're
and
home?
you play home versus.
Okay.
And for whatever reason, they play very well. I don't have a good.
I hate that game every year. I just don't want it to exist.
It
makes me so uncomfortable.
So I don't know. I don't want to turn this into but with Texas, right? You see signs of them turning it around. Now A&M hasn't really had that other than certain games along the way where they're all of a sudden they figure it out.
Yeah.
I do wonder though when the fuck that time is coming and what the tolerance will be if they win 7 games this year.
Well, because it's not like Jimbo doesn't know how to win national championships. He knows how to do it. I don't understand why this particular, and I wonder if it's just the Texas A&M factor, and it is different than Florida State in the sense that you're not the booster situation. I feel is a little more difficult to work with at Texas A&M. Not difficult, that's not the right word, but there's more to navigate there, I feel like. But I'm curious why he hasn't gotten that program with that amount of money over the hump a little bit.
Their defense has been great. Their offense has been really bad. If they can, largely, if they can figure that out, who knows? But I am just very curious. The money will help the recruiting without question. I still think that this is too big to fail. Even in that division, I still think that eventually you find a quarterback. You brought up Florida State. Jameis Winston, all Jameis things aside, was an amazing college quarterback. So, you find that at A&M, you will win. You have great players around you that are older. They might have the best, Marvin Harrison Jr., non-Marvin Harrison Jr., the best wide receiver there right now. So it's just another year of this shit. A&M and Texas, when they do play in a year, it feels like that game, which is going to be really, really important. We love that game. Oh my God. Fast me forward to that. I want to see it. So begrudgingly.
Who are you going to take in that game?
Texas.
Okay, I was hoping that you were going to be on that bandwagon since you so wholeheartedly have now made the...
I'm just going to pump up all the Texas schools, make everybody happy, and then turn my back on them eventually. So, yes.
Another school that we tend to not necessarily pump up, but discuss a lot, I feel like more than most college football podcasts, shout out to Jason, is Nebraska. So...
saying that for your teeth.
Hey, it's the truth. I think that we talk about Nebraska, which is, you know what, good. You get some variety. But there was a piece done on Nebraska and Matt Rule. You were not particularly you weren't oh, this is a guarantee slam dunk hire when this news came out. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this discussion.
They're recruiting pretty well. And I thought the story was really good, by the way, by Pete Thamel, because it is really an interesting intersection. College football is interesting because you have nostalgia, and then you have what's practical now.
Yeah.
And you have these teams like a Miami, maybe even a Texas, but Texas is a little bit different. Miami and Nebraska, teams at Virginia Tech, right? Teams that were these programs that had this prominence that are stumbling. So Texas A&M with their resources, right? We say if you're not competing for SEC championship or a national championship, you fail.
Mm-hmm.
What's a good season at Nebraska? What do you think? 8 wins?
Yeah. I mean, that. The expectation shouldn't really be that high, considering what else is in your conference.
I'm not going to bite on this one. I was hard on the Rule hire because I thought they could have gotten a little bit. It felt like the big name, layup, and a guy that we haven't seen at the college ranks since college has changed a lot.
Yeah.
he does seem to be really brewing in the whole nostalgia thing, which I think is going to make the transition easier. It still floors me how bad Scott Frost was there, so I believe nothing. So I wasn't crazy about the hire. The recruiting stuff is a good sign. They are recruiting very, very well. That's what you want to see.
I like the hire, and I think he will be successful and get them to a good spot where it's not embarrassing anymore. Like, I think it's going to go better than the last couple of years. So there's hope, Jason. Don't let Adam tell you otherwise.
I am kind of team Nebraska. My neighbor likes Nebraska. They currently, by the way, have the number 15 ranked recruiting class in the country. That is pretty nuts for Nebraska. I don't know where they've been finishing, well outside that. So I think that's going to be key for them. But I do love the Texases of the world, like trying to find their rhythm. But the fact that you even said, like, I don't think they'll be embarrassing, pretty much speaks to where Nebraska has gotten as a program. But it is completely right. Like Nebraska, and they've also lost in spectacular ways. They are the most, like, one of the most interesting, like one of those beers that you try and you're like, oh, God, that is bad. Wow, what is that? Like, wow, that tastes like raccoon and Citra, and oh my God. Like that is Nebraska football.
Yeah, and I think that they can become like an irritant in that league. Like a Purdue, where like those games aren't like guaranteed if they have to go play on like a Friday night. They're like, you know what I mean? Like, I think that you can cause a little bit of chaos amongst the Big Ten for sure.
That should be the goal. If you can do that, at the very least, it's interesting. Big Ten, new coaches, new hires, soon new teams. Yes, I'm a Big Ten homer, but go read the story on Matt Rule so you can decide for yourself. Okay, gambling. Sources, Brett McMurphy, tweeted something this morning that when I could access Twitter seemed to be the most relevant thing that people were talking about.
And I can't access it because I've reached my limit. So
what the fuck, Twitter? Like, God damn it. So Colin Wilson, who we met at the national championship, we had a blast. He was betting prop bets from the sidelines, and like, maybe I shouldn't even be saying that, but whatever. Like, this is what they do. And so McMurphy tweeted some notes from Colin's power ratings. So power ratings, for everybody knows, it's like how you're generating lines. And there was two different sections of this that I found interesting. Number of games projected as a favorite in 2023. I am not going to do the game here because there's too many teams. 12 games. So these teams would be favored in 12 games this year. Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Washington, and Louisville was the last one. Now, I was listening to the radio. That might not actually be right, but I completely forgot that they got prom and Louisville might actually be fun again. So that might be interesting. 11 games. Clemson and Florida State. And they noted in this that Florida State at Clemson is projected as a pick-em right now. What a game, by the way. 11 games. Liberty, we just talked about. North Carolina, Ohio State, Oklahoma, South Alabama, Texas, Toledo, Tulane, Utah, and Wisconsin. So maybe some comebacks there. Now, this is the one that was more interesting to me. Number of games projected as an underdog this year. There are two teams that are projected to be an underdog in 12 games. Western Michigan and Stanford, which is crazy.
Wow.
I mean, but it makes sense when you think of that conference. It's good and Stanford is bad, but oh my God, we are not that far away from Stanford being relevant. 11 games. Charlotte, Colorado, found interesting. FIU, Kent State, Nevada, Old Dominion, UAB, Trent Dilfer, UMass, and Virginia Tech.
So I was looking up Stanford's schedule, and I typed in Stanford's schedule, and I forgot to put football. And, of course, I got, like, the school one, because most schools, when you type in Alabama schedule, you get their football schedule. Yes. But with Stanford, you don't.
So sad.
It is really sad. Yeah, it makes sense. Looking at it, it makes a lot of sense. Wow, they'll be an underdog against Arizona?
Oh, yeah.
Hawaii?
Yes. Also on this list, just to go down to the 10s, so who would be an underdog in 10 games this year? Boston College, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, Rutgers, Texas State, Tulsa, and Vanderbilt. So Oklahoma State, like, who's competed
That's
in high level
wild.
bowls. I know. It is. I found all of this fascinating. So again, we are going to keep dipping our toes into all gambling related content here,
Yeah.
both on this pod and elsewhere. This got the juices flowing for me. Virginia Tech quietly became like a really shitty football program. No? Like,
Yeah, this is going to be a weird year of college football.
don't you go get the younger Beamer, pay him like $1 billion to come?
He's
like,
happy where he is, man. He's doing his
I
thing.
know. I'm just
I
saying,
love
like,
him.
that makes me sad. Like, prime Virginia Tech, like, was fun. Like, prime Virginia Tech was a thing. Like, NCAA football, EA style, VOTech, like, constantly in that, I don't know, number 4 to number 15 range. Like, they are fucking bad. Well, really bad. So, that would be my
We gotcha.
thoughts.
Any random shit you got for us today?
Car rides with children. Did a couple long car rides this past week. It's fucking hard, man. I don't know what to say to all the dads and moms out there with multiple kids that are doing it. It's not just the driving, okay? I drove. My wife was in the passenger seat, and I got a little stressed. So just because of the traffic, 4th of July traffic is terrible.
Yeah.
We pull up to a McDonald's. I just want coffee. That's all I want. Coffee, drive through. Everybody is eating. We're good. And there's a line that is insane. And it's like I'm in traffic and I'm muttering, not obscenities. I've keep the language intact, but clearly I think I said this is the worst thing to ever happen in the human existence. That's what I said. Okay. And my 4-year-old just looks at me. He goes, Dad? And I go, yeah. He goes, you need to settle down. So that was an eye-opening experience for me.
Wow.
Maybe it was a little bit much saying this is the worst thing that's ever happened is the parking lot that was McDonald's. And then the 4-year-old tells me that. Of course, it's like, that's the thing.
I love when
you need to settle.
Kids reverse the parenting on you and are like, you need to use your words. And like, there are things that like someone's been like, hey, let's settle down. And then now he's using that on you. That's amazing.
So that was eye-opening. But the driving in general is just hard.
Yeah.
And I'm just, everybody who's doing it or has done it, thinking about y'all. Because I'm still recovering. Not great. So that's my big
My random thing is, did you happen to see the photos from the Michael Rubin white party in the Hamptons this weekend?
I did.
There were a lot of athletes there, so that's why it's like kind of relevant. He's also like the founder of Phonetics, which is kind of wild.
Yes.
Which has had like a resurgence, by the way, recently. Like when there were issues with it in the middle of its business, but now it's very successful, and they have this giant white party, lots of celebrities, lots of athletes, notorious for not getting +1s to these things. All very cool. Speaking of cool, Joe Burrow was there. Outfit was fantastic. Glasses were fantastic. Just chef kiss to Joe there. But if you were to have a white party and you could only invite, let's give you just 3 athletes, who would you be inviting to your exclusive white party?
Okay, so by athletes, do you mean coaches?
Yes, I'll give you sports figures.
I'm going to keep asking questions to ruin this. Now, is it just who you think you'd like to enjoy your time with?
So this is where it's hard, is because you have to go with someone who'd be a fun time at a party, but also somebody that's like legendary and you'd want to get the chance to meet. You know what I mean?
I met him, but I feel like Nick Saban's going to be at my party.
Oh yeah, Nick is he's definitely on my list. He's like number 1, Nick Saban. He'd also have a sick fit. So like,
I just think Nick with a couple of glasses, like maybe a little loose.
Maybe some tequila shots. No, he only drinks beer. Sources.
I'm going to bring Aaron Rodgers right now in my life.
Wow.
Because I got to know what's going on there.
Okay.
And I feel like we, God knows where we end up after that night with what we consume
Mhm.
like in our bodies, like right.
Mhm.
But like a Nick Saban, and now I got to shake it up completely.
Okay, who's your third?
Can't believe I said Aaron Rodgers. Um, relevant. Wait,
You got this. I believe in you.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go Francisco Lindor.
That's a good
So,
choice.
Mike, here's it. My kids and I very into baseball.
Mhm.
They just love his smile. He seems fun. Like, so he's my fun. So
Okay.
here's where I'm going with my team. Francisco Lindor, Mets fan, by the way. Fun, smile. My kids will think I'm amazing.
Okay.
Aaron Rodgers gives me the weird. Give me the fucking weird.
Gives you the weird that a
plus
white
New
party
York.
needs on the 4th of July. I like
Yes,
that. Okay.
and then give me the class of Saban
Okay.
and the stories of Saban. So I get the fun, the weird, and class.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty weird. Now, where are you going? You're probably going to go F1. Are you going like, oh, you're already looking at me like
well, of
you're...
course I'm gonna pick somebody in F1. Even though
Okay.
it's during the season. I would have I would have
It's gonna happen.
Saban. Saban's gonna be on my list too. That's just because
Okay. Bless you.
the most on brand thing possible for this podcast today. Okay. So I've got I've got Nick Saban. I'm gonna go Michael Jordan just because I want to bring a billionaire in.
It's a good one to choose. All right, your sneeze though. Do you normally? I can't even do this. I got alligator arms. I cannot even get into my fucking elbow. For people on YouTube, like you're in a tree, you get all the way in there, right?
Yeah.
Like I've got. This is a shoulder flexibility thing. Oh, there we go. Okay. You just naturally like sneeze up, like, dude. That is proper.
Sneeze etiquette here. We're not letting any germs slide. Wow. Okay, let's try this again. My 3 would be Nick Saban, Michael Jordan, because I also think Michael Jordan would bring the weirdness and the cigars, so that'd be fun. And also that duo together would be great. And then I would probably bring Carlos Sainz, who is a Formula 1 driver, just for like the spiciness.
I like it. Tiger Woods was also close on my list.
But I don't think he would loosen up. Like, I think at least like Michael is like far enough away from his career that he is like fine loosening up a little. I just don't think he'd be that fun at a party. No offense, Tiger.
I tend to agree.
Yeah,
I tend to agree.
I thought about having like Brooks Koepka in there, but I don't want someone who thinks they're like too cool. You know, I want someone who I think I would enjoy their company. So those are the 3 that I would bring.
I like that's a great.
What a great party! I mean, we have Nick Saban on each of our lists, but
oh yeah, and he again now like
he would get a +1, and he can bring Kristen, his daughter.
Yes,
that's allowed because not a lot of people get +1s. Nick would get a +1 because we both wanted to invite him, and Kristen could come to our white party. I'll text her and let her know she's in.
I'm in. I like that. That is a great question. Who would you bring to that party? That party, by the way, the list was like ridiculous.
Yeah, good mix of people.
I mean,
Tom Brady, Jay-Z, and Beyonce.
I know.
Ben Affleck brought his daughter, which I thought was great.
That is great. Yeah, like notably not invited us.
Yeah, sad. I was upset about it, but it's okay. Joe Burrow didn't get a +1, so of course I couldn't go.
The Joey B.
I love him.
And I'm trying to think of other random things. No, you mentioned it. It's 4th. I'm going to end pretty much every podcast with like the football shit is coming. Mm-hmm. Media days are what, like 3 weeks away?
Yeah.
Maybe less.
2 weeks.
Like, oh my God. Are you ready for that? I'm not quite ready for that.
I am, because it's talking season and I enjoy some of the quotes from there in the fashion.
Think like media days will be a thing 10 years from now, or do you think like you think it's going to be like digital, remote? Like,
no, I don't think it'll be digital remote, because I think college football at its core loves pageantry. I think they're going to get more like they'll be more for fans to go to, because they'll move them to locations where it's less about like media days and actually getting clips, where they'll just have it be like, oh, there's like a red carpet and you could do this and you could do that. Like, I think it's going to be a little bit more flashy and showy.
It's actually a great idea.
Thank you.
I like that. Turn it into like not a stodgy sports writer.
Yeah, but it's more about the fan.
Spartan. Yeah. we are talking about now, like what our season is going to look like when I say that, you and I, that gets me excited.
Yeah.
It gets me excited to pick games. Like in-season pods are like, there's just nothing.
Nothing like the high. I mean, off-season pods are pretty wild, but...
No, that's true. Off-season pods is where you get like the weirdness. In-season, like we have to pretend like we're what we're talking about, kind of. Not really. People who listen to this know that's not the case. We can't stretch our legs as much because otherwise we would talk for 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we would. Have you ever heard that Theo Vaughn quote where he's like, I don't know what I'm talking about, and I never really have. I never really have.
Yeah,
that is literally us. We're like, we don't know what we're talking about. We're just having a good time. That's all that matters.
We are.
And to be fair, sometimes we do actually know what we're talking about, and it's kind of wild, but...
Yeah, no, we're going to pick some winners. We're going to do all those things.
Some winners.
Why? What the fuck? Why is that? We do sometimes.
Do
we
you know what that... Have you ever heard of picking a winner?
Like pick your nose?
It's picking a winner is like picking a wedgie.
I didn't know that. Like I said,
we're
like
Googling.
We literally pick. What the fuck? Well, at least it's something like somewhat harmless. I was like, God, please don't be bad.
Let's see what the
pick a winner.
Picking a winner. What's
the
Urban Dictionary? That's what it's called. Picking their nose. Actually, you were right.
Yeah. It's also like doing non-shitty game.
Yeah, that too.
Which we're gonna try.
We're gonna try new.
All
right.
With that, Paige, Adam, we will talk to you guys next week.